In the last video, I showed you how to use the controls of the Dyn3 compressor limiter. In this video, I'm going to show you how to implement compression into a mix. And again, this is just going to be a basic overview. I will go in much greater depth about compression in a future video. But for now, this is just to kind of get you started, all right? So here you can see I have the same session we've been working on, Soul Cries Out. And I have compression on every track. And you might not do that in real life. If you're really mixing for real, you might not have compression on every track, but you're going to have compression on most of them. Compression is something we're used to hearing. If you don't have compression on a track, it's, your music might sound flat or too quiet or something. But I do have it on every track. Right now, they're all bypassed except for this bass track. Let's take a look at the bass track in the edit window. And let's just review the goal here. If I look at some bass waves, you'll see that the notes have an onset, right? That onset point is called the transient. And then the note sort of trails off. Some notes, like this one right here, are much quieter than the longer held out notes. And if we listen to this, you can hear the volume difference between those notes, especially if I disable that compressor. Okay, so these little notes in here, they're kind of quiet. The notes die away. And what we want to do is just narrow the difference between the loudest parts of the bass track and the quieter parts. If we can bring these notes up in volume while maintaining the loudness of the louder notes, then it's going to sound like it's overall louder. And not just louder, but hopefully closer and punchier and tighter. So let's take a look at this. And let's just listen to the difference. I will A/B this as we go along here. Hopefully you notice that difference already. No compression. It just brings those quieter notes out much more and brings them into greater focus. And it still maintains the loudness of the louder notes. So let's look at the settings I have to make that happen here. First, we're going to look at the ratio here. The ratio is not a strong ratio. 2.5 to 1 is very light. And that's because this is jazz, and jazz is an acoustic art form. It does not call for heavy compression. Heavy compression would make it sound weird. So very light ratio there. The knee is 15 dB here, and so that's a very smooth knee, right? It's not sharp like that would be. I know it's not hugely noticeable in the graph, but you will hear it. And so the knee is going to make it so when the compressor goes in and out, it's not noticeable. It is transparent, and it sort of is gentler when it attacks. The attack and release here, I have it set to 10 milliseconds. This allows the transients of the bass part to go through uncompressed, and then that compression kicks in right away after them. And then it releases that compression 23 milliseconds after it falls below the threshold. I've tried to put that in line with the basic rhythm of the bass part, and let's see if that works. Yeah, it's basically following the rhythm of the bass line. The makeup gain I have set to 6.9. We're losing about 6 or 7 decibels on this gain reduction meter here. Not all the time, but like at its peak. See, there it goes towards 6. So overall, 6.9 was about what I chose. It could be 7, could be 6.5. I don't, tweak this to that degree. And then the threshold I just have set at a level where it is picking up the louder notes and not picking up the quieter notes so that the quieter notes don't get stomped on. Again, what we are trying to accomplish is the bass sounding closer and more present. Let's look at the saxophone part here. So right now there's no compression on it, nothing wrong with it. But when I turn it on, so for this, it does make it much closer to the listener. It makes it sound brighter and tighter. I have a very fast attack, and we're going to play around with that right now because what I'm unsure of is how the saxophone is being attacked. When you play a saxophone, you use your tongue on the saxophone reed to start the notes, right? That's, ta, ta, ta. That's what starts the note. And so how fast is too fast? Right now, this is the fastest. So it's compressing those transients and getting the full wave. Let's see what happens if we raise the attack time. See if we can hear a difference. And this saxophone player is not tonguing every note. It should be, noted that a lot of the notes are slurred or they're soft tongued, sort of with air. That's very common. It's another technique. Totally fine playing there. But I find that maybe a longer attack time lets those tongue notes come through a little bit better. See the difference in the onset of the note? And so I would probably prefer like a 3 millisecond attack time or so. It's just letting those hard tongue notes through more. These are the kind of details you have to listen for when you are mixing the music, when you are recording the music, all of those stages of production. You want to look at this kind of detail, this level. And the more you know about an instrument, the better you're going to be at it. The other settings here are pretty basic. I'm trying to match the release time with the rhythm. The ratio is, again, 2.5 to 1 with a gentle knee, a little bit harsher than the bass, but it's still pretty soft. And then I'm losing about 6 dB of gain and the gain reduction, so I'm matching that up. And it's getting us a punchier saxophone sound. Not a whole lot. Again, this is jazz. We're not trying to change the character of everything, but just be subtle. Let's listen to what it sounds like with all of the instruments with no compression versus compression. Here's no compression. Here's the compression. No compression. So each one of these is doing a little bit, right? 4 decibels, 3.5 decibels of makeup gain, 6.9. They're not going crazy, but overall, taken together as a group of tracks, the overall effect is that the track is brighter, tighter, punchier, more present, and closer to you. And that's what compression really does. I mean, you can go through the theories of it restricts dynamic range by this many decibels and the transients this, but really at the end of the day, you have to evaluate the sound difference that the compressor is making. A lot of beginners will overcompress. That's a very common issue. And when that happens, you'll notice that your tracks are too quiet. They're just too quiet. You can't get them any louder. Maybe you throw a compressor on the drums group. Like I'm going to show you how to do groups later on. And you just have it cranked too high. And you can't hear those drums anymore. No matter what you do, they don't get loud enough or punchy enough. They sound small. Over compression will kill a mix very quickly. So I don't expect you to be great at compression right away. I don't expect you to be great at hearing it or using it, but you have to start somewhere. And the more you use it and the more you try and you listen and you try to hear what the plugin is doing to the track, the better you're going to get. And it will take a while, but it's well worth it. If you want to be a producer, it's an essential skill.